So net merit in 2021, maximizing cow's lifetime profit potential. I would like to start by reminding everybody of the values that we have at CDCB. We are dairy-driven and science-based. We are a cooperative organization, and we have to operate in a transparent manner. And also very important that everything that CDCB does is data-driven. So having that in mind, it's important because this determines how decisions are made by the board, because these values are values that were being appointed by the CDCB board. Before I start talking about net merit, I would like to give you some idea how the process that we went through to get to this update. It was the first time that we had a much more comprehensive discussion within the industry. So how an index is modified. So the first step is that we have new knowledge. So once new knowledge is available that defies the current status of the index that we are applying, the research starts to see how this will impact the index in its current state. So this is obvious in this case. It came mainly when we talk about feed saved, that we have all this data available from the NIFA and FFAR CDCB projects that are generated by universities and USDA. And based on this data generated, we launched the new trait called Feed Saves in December 2020. And then Paul Van Reyden and his team, they started this review of the index to incorporate the new information available. Once the review proposal was there, we went through an evaluation of the impact of this index in the industry by discussing it not only in the CDCB board, but also in the committees that we have at CDCB, which is the Producer Advisory Committee. We also have the Genetic Evaluation Methods Group, and we also have the group of reviewers that review our test runs. Also, it's important that this index and the values behind the index were presented in scientific meetings and also part of publications that have been sent to peer review journals. So based on that, when we have a consistent proposal, then it comes to the evaluation of the CDCB board. What is CDCB board going to do with that? How they are going to decide? So they will follow those company values, and based on that company values, they will evaluate the input from the several committees and make a decision. That's what happened. It took us a good length of time so that we had enough comfort and within the industry, and finally it was decided in April that we would include these traits and modify the index in August 2021. And then, of course, we get this education period, which is where we are now. This is what we are doing right at this moment. And the idea is to provide as much information as possible to the industry. And we count very much on you guys, because you are the ones that really have contact with the final users of our products. And net merit being the most product of this information, and have producers to understand. Finally, we will have the implementation, which will happen in August this year. So enhanced life net merit. When we talk about net merit, we are including all the other merits that are being reviewed in August. So basically, we introduced three new traits. Feed saved is the most visible one, but also heifer livability and early first calving are very important traits that have been published by CDCB and were not yet included in the index. So these traits mean that we are going to have not only more feed efficiency for cows, but also better health and growth of calves. So these two goals, health and growth of cows and feed efficiency of cows, they were already included in net merit by other traits that are correlated. But now we have a better direction in which we have more directly focus on these areas. But the target is the same. We still have net merit with the basic idea of maximizing lifetime profitability. So this didn't change. And the idea is that we're going to use as much information as we can to pursue that target. One interesting change in this new version of net merit is that we're starting to introduce very important economic traits, but that have low reliability or have the amount of information available to calculate those traits is not as abundant as for the traits that we have been using to calculate net merit before. So in order to reflect that, a new concept is being proposed, and Paul van Rheden will provide a little bit more detail about that. But instead of simply showing the relative economic value, or what we are used to call economic weights, we are now expressing the trait as relative in net merit as with the relative emphasis in each trait. So while the economic value reflects the actual economic importance of the trait, the relative emphasis shows trait's contribution to the ranking of the animal, the effective contribution to the ranking of the animals in the net merit scale. So I will let Paul provide you more details later on. But here is a way that we found to express what are the relative emphasis, what is the relative emphasis for every trait included in net merit. We can see here in blue the ones that have a positive emphasis, and in orange the ones that have a negative emphasis. So somatic cell counts we want to decrease, body weight composite we also want to reduce that, and we also want to reduce the residual feed intake. So these three traits are the ones that receive a negative emphasis, and all the others receive a positive emphasis. Of course, fat, protein, and productive life being the most, the traits that receive most of the emphasis. Just to illustrate here the difference between economic value and relative emphasis, we can see here, and I will use residual feed intake to illustrate that. You can see that the economic value of residual feed intake is very much higher than the actual emphasis, and that's due to the amount of information available to calculate this trait. Also, we can see here in comparison what happened with the distribution of values. We use the group of artificial insemination bulls to illustrate that. You can see here that the new version, which is in orange, is receiving, it has a much wider distribution of values and also a higher mean of $554 compared to the $460 that the current index has as the mean for this group of animals. But you can also see that the overall reliability reduced with the new index, and this is a direct impact of adding such an important trait as residual feed intake in the mix with low reliability. It's important to realize that this is going to be more and more the situation in the future, because most of the economic important traits that we will add from now on will have less information available, at least in the beginning. I would provide one example, which is lameness or hoof health that we are working on to generate data. So most likely, whenever we introduce that trait, it will also have low reliability, at least at the beginning, or low amount of information available. So, but thanks to genomics, we can take advantage of this trait. So, going back to our main addition to the index here, the feed safe. So we have been publishing feed safe since December, but in fact, what goes into the formula of net merit are the components of feed safe, which are residual feed intake and body weight composite. So here are the basic definitions of these traits. Well, feed saved is expected pounds of feed saved per lactation. Residual feed intake is actually what we get from the experimental herds that are generating the data, which is the difference between the actual and the expected feed intake. And of course, the reason body weight composite is added here because this is a trait that is abundant. So we can use it to infer maintenance requirements, rearing costs, and salvage values. Here is another slide that I'm not going to spend too much time on it because Paul will provide you more the hows and whys. But these are the traits that reduced their relative emphasis compared to the current situation. So fat, calving traits, livability, the feet and legs, and other composite, they reduced. But we have two other traits that increase their emphasis, which is basically productive life and body weight composite. So these slides will be made available to you, but I'm sure Paul will provide you more details on these changes here. So if we look at the different indices that we publish compared to net merit, so this would be again the weights that are given to, or sorry, the relative emphasis that is given to every trait in net merit. If we compare that to fluid merit, we can see obviously that the emphasis on milk is very much increased because we have basically zero emphasis on milk in net merit. But when we go to fluid milk, or those that would be remunerated based on fluid should use this index. One interesting thing is when we compare milk net merit with cheese merit, you can see that they're very similar with this new review. And this is even posed a question if we should publish both indices if they are so alike. But this is circumstantial. We don't know what is going to happen in the future. And cheese merit has been very well adopted index in the market. So we still see value of having the two indices and monitoring their evolution as we go. And finally, we have the grazing merit, which the main differences are the higher emphasis on productive life and fertility. So here we have expected genetic trends in Holsteins. So you can see that the trends are very much similar to the green is the one that we have now, and the red, pink, whatever, is in the 2021. But you can see that the expectation is that we have a higher progress or faster progress with the new index, which is what the whole idea of modifying the index is, exactly to get more progress. And interesting to look at also other breed. Jersey has the same situation, even though Jersey doesn't have residual feed intake added to their net parent. The other modifications that have been made to the index also help to improve Jersey breed in a faster rate. So we can see that this is what we wanted. And finally, we can see also progress expressed here as breeding value change per decade. And this is very reassuring, because this shows that the progress expected from applying this index in the selection of the next generations is higher than it was before. So we can see that all these traits are moving in the expected direction if we apply this index to make our ranks.